So,
Yeah.
Johnny Wright.
Yes.
Welcome to Born in June, Raised in April, What Adoption Can Teach the World.
I love that. Thank you for having me.
I love this. This is our July edition of Born in June, Raised in April. As you know, I deconstruct the calendar to create more understanding about the lived experiences of adopted persons. We dig deep into differences of race and culture. And the month of July brings us so much to talk about. And the theme of this month is freedom and independence.
Okay.
The spirit of that, right?
Yeah.
So I want to start like I generally do on the podcast and talk about your beginnings and your early life.
Yeah. I am from the South Side of Chicago. And I've always had a passion of doing hair ever since I was the age of probably 3 years old. So my grandmother was a hairstylist. Her name was Minnie Brown. She started doing hair when she was 13. She did hair until she was 91 years old.
Wow.
And she passed when she was 93. She said that I was combing her hair into a clean ponytail at the age of 3. So I always loved doing hair. And at the age of around 9 or 10, I started dreaming about hairstyles and creating hairstyles. And I just had to do it. But, of course, I was, young, gay guy on the South Side of Chicago with very religious parents. So I didn't necessarily feel free to express myself in the beauty world at the time. But I'm still young, 9, 10 years old. It's young. And then there was a girl by the name of Carolyn who used to do my mom's wraps. When you wrap the hair, flat iron it out. And because my grandmother used to do press and curls, so she didn't do the wrap thing. So
it's a very unique process.
It's a very
which
unique
I have
process.
learned.
Yeah.
And people are, when they get good at it, that is the person you go to.
That's
for
the person
that.
you go to. And so Carolyn was my brother's wife's sister.
Okay.
Well, cousin. She was a cousin.
Okay.
And Carolyn had this effervescent personality. She used to smoke cigarettes while she's doing relaxers and stuff like that, or doing hair or whatever. And I used to just sit there and marvel at her do her thing. And I just really had a connection to Carolyn. And she was just very free. She was very open and fun and just free. And one day, when she got done with my mom's hair, we was in the back porch talking, and I said, I want to do hair one day. And she was like, well, do it. And I was like, well, I don't want anybody to think I'm gay. She said, boy, they'll think you gay with fat pockets. And I know that sounds so stupid in a way, but that is the thing that opened my mind up to say, you know what, I'm going to do me, regardless of what you think about it. I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and my mom was my first client, and my career started at that point. So I started doing it when I was 11.
Did you ever tell Carolyn that?
I don't know if I did. I don't even know if Carolyn is still living. Or I don't know.
Well, she knows now.
I have to ask my sister-in-law. I don't know if I ever told her that, but that was the defining moment for me to start living my freedom. And to be quite honest, from there on, I became more and more and more free behind the chair. Being able to express myself artistically showed me how free I can be just as an individual.
As a human being.
Isn't that
through
a
your
weird
craft.
thing? Through my craft.
It's actually a good message for folks listening to the podcast, be they, members of the extended family of adoption, as I call it.
Yeah.
And for those who are in the community that extends out from there.
Yeah.
It's a great message, particularly for, I think, adopted persons. There is a sense of not being as free because we have to maybe fit into the mold of the family we're adopted into. We then have to think about our identities in this complicated way that oftentimes, because we have a lack of information, because we don't always have the whole story, there is a space and time where we don't feel free to be in our full identities. There's added layers to that based on transracial adoption. And, for me growing up in a majority white environment with white parents, the freedom to be culturally grounded and being a Black woman, there's a lack of connection to that. And I want to get into that a little bit. Before I do, I want to make sure that folks know how we know each other. So we met years ago in Harlem.
To a mutual friend.
Mutual friends.
His name is Greg, a great friend of ours, Greg. And I think we became fast friends pretty much instantly. Some people you just meet and you just have that cosmic connection with. I feel like that's what we had. It felt like we had known each other for years.
And I don't think I've ever told you this, but I felt the same way. But I don't think I've ever told you this, but there's such an identity journey of an adopted person. Even though I've been in Harlem 2 decades plus, getting to know you as part of the Harlem community a little bit later in my life in Harlem, I felt like was another sort of unlock as a Black woman.
Oh,
if that
really?
makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I don't quite know how to explain
How
it.
so? Yeah. Oh, you can't explain it.
Let's see. Let's see. Because I, you know, have a lot of connections in Harlem, but you were a new person in Harlem and you just hit different to me. I can't really describe it, but the moment I knew that was at your book launch party.
Yeah. Just the
That's
defining
when I knew.
moment.
I had a sense of it when I first met you. Like something about you was different for me in being in community with people that looked like me and people that were Black like me. You know, like that was different. It was
proud
different
to be
for
Black
you.
like
and
me.
Proud to be Black and have
Yeah.
this like very strong sense of identity. And I had gotten your book because you had launched your book. And I want to get to the backstory of how you got there because I think that is going to really make it land on the audience.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting at your book launch and going like, these words of truth, of identity, of confidence, of manifestation were...
Of also self-love. That's, I think, the most important, I think.
That's where it all comes from. So say more about that.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
You know, I remember being a young kid, very early on. This is still after I started doing hair, so I still was, I still had a lot of insecurities. I can't really tell you them now because I've totally let them go, but it could be anything. Because my legs are too big or my nose. I don't know what it was. I really can't remember. But I remember thinking to myself one time, I used to walk into crowded rooms and the thought of walking to a crowded room used to just haunt me. And the things that are, and I remember saying to myself, and this is probably just a gift, right? I remember saying to myself early on that I can't live like that. I can't continue to live like that. That is not good for me. I didn't know what it would do to me. I know I didn't feel comfortable walking into a room and feeling so threatened by people's thoughts.
Wow.
And I have to take this back to it when I started doing hair. The thing about being a hairstylist is, you know, there's a level of a lot of praise you get for your work, for your talent, you know. And it shows in so many ways, just from the amount of clients that you have, the things that they say how they look and how they feel when they look in the mirror, the fact that they are, you know, they come back, they're repetitious clients, they come back, you know, and these are all ways of celebrating you. So I think the love that my clients have for me and my talent helped me love myself even more.
Oh my gosh.
I really do believe that. That's why I always told people I am, as a hairstylist and being in the beauty industry, I am serving my God and I'm being rewarded for it. And that's what my life speaks to. That's how I've made it so far.
That was very clear at your book launch.
Yeah.
So I was already obsessed with you and your book. Natural and Curly Hair for Dummies.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how that book manifested. But I want to hold on to that moment for a second and back to what you were talking about in terms of, you know, God and the universe presenting you with an opportunity from that. I'm afraid to walk in this room, or I'm high anxiety walk into this room.
Yeah.
And then really the unlock of I am talented.
Yeah.
I belong here.
Yeah.
And I'm good at something.
Yes,
I mean,
I was really good at
receiving that.
And it's like, why am I sitting here doing this to myself when everybody else is celebrating me? You know, and I remember I have a client. This course is coming on later on in life. She's one of my favorite clients. She's not a celebrity. She's filthy rich, but she's not a celebrity. Her name is Pam Rakestraw. And Pam told me, and she worked in psychology for years and as a social worker and all this stuff. But she also owned her own transportation company, and that was her claim to fame. Was got really big, made millions and millions with this company. It's called SCR Transportation in Chicago. She's now sold it and living her life and all this stuff. But anyway, Pam told me your whole life would change when you start to see yourself how other people see you. And I said, and of course, me in my mind and being, you know, egotistical, and I was like, I don't care about what other people think about me, you know? And she said, I didn't say think about you. I said how they see you. And I'm starting to understand that more. Because even when you say, like, you know, there was something really special about you, it's like, I have to see what you're seeing in me. Because I'm just existing as me, right? I'm not putting on any, and my true definition of freedom is being in depth of my ego.
Yes.
That's what it is for me. You know, I don't want to have my ego in the way of anything. And I think that's a compliment that I get it from a lot of people. They, you know, the best compliments you get is you smell good, you got great skin, and you have great energy.
Yes.
And I thankfully get those compliments all the time.
All three are true. I know this.
And so my energy, I think, is complimented because I'm not in my way. You know, I'm not putting anything on me. I'm letting people experiencing how they experience me. And that means if they like me or they don't, they have a right to do that. That's what freedom is, you know, and not worrying about other people's thoughts. And, you know, we've had conversations about race and identity and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I enjoy our different perspectives, but at the same time, I'm like, I just don't see it a lot of times that way because I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just literally focused on what's making me happy, what's making me feel good, and trying to bring that joy to the people that are around me. Yeah.
Well, hence the sort of connectivity of all the things, being you, and then doing what you do, which in a lot of ways is manifestation. So I want to talk a little bit about how this all comes together in how our connection has grown exponentially and our ability to shine light and give all the things that we are about to the world.
Yes. So excited.
So excited. Is how your book came to life.
Yeah.
Tell a story about
it was a really simple thing that happened, and this is a true testament to manifestation. I was in Harlem actually, and I was getting on I think the A and C train, and I saw a lesbian couple that was white, and they had a black kid, and I don't know what made me go to them and say, "Hey, if I was to write a book," and I wasn't thinking about writing a book about natural hair prior to this. I really wasn't. I just saw this and I just said, I'm sure they need help with the hair. I don't know if the kid hair was not perfect or what. I don't know what. I can't remember that. I just saw a lesbian white couple with this black kid. They'd adopted it. And I said, hey, if I were to write a book about natural hair, would you buy it? It was like, oh, we'll be the first in line.
We were right line.
And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe that'll happen one day.
This wasn't on your bingo card.
No, it was not. 2 weeks later, my agent called me and said, Dummies, Wiley and Son, which is, you know, the Four Dummies a publishing company. Wiley and Son reached out to my agent and said they wanted me to author a book called Natural Hair for Dummies.
And you were like, huh.
And I said, that's insane. And so then we moved along with the process, and I ended up naming it Natural and Curly Hair for Dummies because I wanted to include the Latino dad community and other people that have curly hair that might not identify with the word natural. So I just said Natural and Curly Hair for Dummies, and Wiley and Son was totally fine with it. And that's how it all happened.
And you know what's so crazy about that story is I didn't even know that story until you were at camp. So let's fast forward a little bit. I did not know that story.
I never told you, huh?
No, sir. But like, I was not surprised.
Yeah.
Maybe I was, but it was like, okay, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So for many years, I have been executive director of a camp called Transracial Journeys.
Yeah.
We are a camp, a community that serves the transracial adoptive family community. And that is a camp for children and families. They come together and they do their thing, and the parents go one way, the children go another. They come together at certain times, and I always am the one curating the activities. We have a great camp co-directors for youth programming, Mary and Karen, who really structure all the children's activities. I work mainly with the parents, but kind of
a little back and
help
forth.
Oversee everything. And once during camp, it's 4 days. Once during camp, we do an all camp activity, and it's usually a panel with counselors who are all transracially adopted persons talking about their lived experience to the entire camp. And 2 years ago, last year. Wait,
was it last year?
Last year.
It was last year.
Last year, my gosh.
It was last year, yeah. Last August, yeah.
We always bring hair care professionals with us to camp. So we take hair appointments, and there's usually a broader conversation about hair and different things with parents about beauty and identity. But when I saw you at your book launch party, in that moment, it like literally was like, Johnny has to come to camp. Johnny has to come to camp. And it took us over a year to figure it all out. So last year you came to camp. And I think I gave you enough information to know what you were getting into, but not too much to
haunt me.
To really. But when you were talking about the book, I heard that story for the first time about seeing that couple with that child and you saying and all the things. And I was like, okay, so what we did last year was bring you in.
It's insane.
Bring you in, which is, look, we couldn't afford you.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford you. And I was like, please, universe, just let's figure this out. We are a small, very small, like camp with not a lot of budget. But I was like, please let this happen. And you came and you did a rotation with the young people. That was magic.
Yeah.
Sitting with the young people.
That was magic. Yeah.
Talking about.
And just as you know, and I told you before, but I had a feeling before I got to Ohio that something was going to come out of this more than what it was. I just had a feeling. I didn't know what it was. I just said, I'm going to do this thing for April. I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into, but just something inside me was like, something's about to happen here. And I just had that feeling. And then when we had those seminars with all the kids, and we had the seminar with the kids and the parents. And the seminar with just the parents is when it hit me. That's when it hit me. And I was sitting there, and this is when I brought my whole kit.
Yes.
And I said, here, this is the blow dryer you use. These are the tools that you use. And these parents were literally buying it. Like, is this it right here? And they were buying it. I was like, wait a minute. This is like beyond influence. This is direct to consumer, right? This is beyond influence. And I turned to April and I said, hey, why is this not a business? I said, they need this.
Correct.
They need us. They need the knowledge. They have opened up their homes to these beautiful Black kids, and they need to have every tool available to make sure that they are steadfast in their identity and who they are, and that includes skin, hair, and all beauty, that.
All the things, 100%. And we know how important this is, and in the past, we've been able to bring in the hair care professionals and have these conversations. But this took it to a whole nother level.
Oh,
your degree of knowledge, your ability to transfer that knowledge in a way that is receivable and that can be integrated in was crystal clear to me.
Thank you.
And you've been doing it for a while, but just not in this setting, in such a specific way.
Well, you know what's so interesting about that? This is another conversation about manifestation. When I was a kid, and if I was ever asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always say a teacher. Say I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And at this point, I have taught over 5,000 stylists just as a hairstylist, working with L'Oreal, being a technician with L'Oreal, traveling the world with them, and then doing my own master classes now with Glam Squad and things like that. And so having those children in front of me just made me realize how I even manifested that, because I'm teaching something that I'm an expert at, right? At this point, I've been doing it for over 30 years. I do consider myself a master at it. So I'm able to, I feel like, talk about it in a way that is very digestible.
Correct.
And you can get it in an instant without having to try to figure out too much.
And you know what I thought was so amazing is the combination, right? Because I've talked to some of the young people in camp settings about hair and beauty and identity. I've talked to the parents in those settings. Having you and I together.
That was great. Yeah, it was great.
And some of the even subtle things that I saw happen with the young people. One young person articulated, well, I have sister locks, but I think it's because it's easier for my mom.
Well, that's what got me. I think that is the most touching thing.
And that kind of space with an expert that looked like them, that was literally telling them, this is what's on your head. Like, this is how this works. This is what it's called.
Yeah.
When this happens.
These are the layers. This is how you treat it. This is,
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another moment. I mean, you talk about the moment the parents are gobbling it up and doing that, but really for me,
of course,
the young people, that was all. And then when we did the panel of the counselors and really talking about their hair journeys, and how much that impacted their identities. So the intersection of all these things, it's real knowledge and an understanding of the chemistry of our bodies, how it happens to grow on our head, and how it's all integrated, but the beauty aspect and the community aspect. The thing that struck me so much about your book, and why, even in that moment of reading your book before, I had the book. I think I had the book before I went to the book party.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
I'm thinking, this is not a book solely about kind of technicalities, technical things. It's really a book about community. That was like, I was like, that part right there.
Yeah, 1000%.
Because I was like, oh, can I be in this community too?
Yeah.
I felt like that was for me and all the other transracially adopted persons fit into that. Like,
it is about community. You need that. You need to be able to bounce questions off each other. You need to be able to have just that general connection and say that, you see me, we see each other type of thing. And that's what community gives us.
Correct.
Yeah.
So a couple of takeaways from camp. We you said there was something unlocked there for you. When leaving camp, did it have you view the world, especially children and families, in a slightly different way after you left out of camp?
I would say it definitely opened my mind up a little more. I don't know if I viewed it, and you didn't ask this, but I never viewed anything negatively.
Sure.
So when I was able to experience that, and of course I never knew what transracial adoption was. I knew of white families adopting Black kids or any other ethnicities adopting other ethnicity of kids. But what I did leave there feeling like this is an untapped market, right? As far as
an underserved community.
An underserved community. And I wanted to be able to be a voice and to be able to be utilized in that way. I love the hair industry. I love what I do. But what I love about it is how many avenues you can go with it. And for this to be what I like to call my final act, because I ain't young no more, but I call my final act. I think this is like a beautiful flow of my story and also of yours, unfolding of my story from, growing up in the South Side of Chicago, working through L'Oreal, starting work with celebrities, moved to Washington, D.C. to be Mrs. Obama's hairstylist for 8 years, then moved back to L.A., got my own TV shows, got a place in New York, and then, Tamron Hall and all the stuff that I'm doing, writing the book, and then being able to offer education to transracially adopted families. I feel like, listen, what I do know is this is not just for, our focus is transracially adopted families, but we know it's going to go into blended families. It's going to go right to mixed race families. And because, that white mom that's married to a Black husband and she has these kids with this curly hair, she doesn't know anything about it.
Correct.
She's done it. So she needs help as well too. So we want to make sure we open the door to all of that. But at the end of the day, this is what the browning of America is, or the browning of the world is. We're all kind of going to be intertwined. So it's nice to have the education, at least when it comes to our hair and
skin.
And
the pathway to having a community right next to the technical skills, it's also that holding of community that we all here together, and it's meant to be an elevation of our experiences. I want to think back. I want to share, and as I think back on my early days and hair, and how much my parents needed this book and needed you and needed this camp. And I think about it now, it's really hard to talk about because I know that a lot of things to be true at the same time. I say this a lot in the podcast, that I can have this loving, amazing family that was completely ill-prepared to look after me and protect me in the way that they needed to.
Yeah.
And so when I think about getting labeled as sort of indulgent for taking a long shower, when I was just trying to get the suds out of my hair, because I was washing my hair like my sister was.
Wow.
Who could go in and get out.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get in and get out. And I remember
curls,
it being in the shower, like trying to get the suds out and not being able to. And that being seen as, we had, 6 of us in the family. We had a small hot water heater. You didn't take a long hot shower. You just didn't do that anyway, because we were sort of like hardy New England people that just didn't dilly dally about anything.
Yeah.
But like I needed more time.
Yeah.
And I just remember that as a thing, and I don't want any kid
to have
to go through that.
Yeah.
Now we've got lots of different things available, and there are lots of different ways that there are supports out there. But I love what we're putting together. You're coming back to camp this year.
Can't wait.
We're so excited.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking a little bit more about what we're going to be doing. We're going to be soft launching that at camp, which is July 30th through August 3rd in Ohio at Ohio University. Camp is closed now, so if you want to go to camp, you can't come. However,
we have online.
But we are doing a live stream on the 3rd of August.
Yeah.
And
2nd of August.
Oh, excuse me, on the 2nd of August. Sorry, Saturday, August 2nd. That will be available to anybody who wants to log in and hear a little bit more about what we're doing. And we're going to be focused that time on getting better prepared and feeling actually inspired for something that often plagues adoptive families who have adopted transracially Black and brown children: wash day.
Yeah, wash day.
I just was referring to that. We didn't have wash day in my house. It was wash day was when I was doing it myself.
And it was like, get out the shower.
I didn't. Correct. So we're going to be talking about wash day. We're going to be talking about the prep, what happens on wash day, and how to keep those styles fresh. We'll talk a little bit about protective styles. We'll talk about all the things. So say a little bit more about what people can learn when they pop in on the 2nd.
This is, if you are a transracially adopted family, or if you're a blended family of different races, this is the opportunity for you to understand your child more, really. And I feel like wash day was a perfect moment of some type of what do you call it, like demonstration, because that is where the foundation is. The foundation is how you set that hair up, and that all happens on wash day. So again, we'll go through detangling, we'll go through sectioning, we'll go through how to properly apply the product, and how to properly condition the hair, which is really key. How to thoroughly rinse the hair from all the suds, all that kind of stuff is going to play a role in this moment. So you're going to leave there with a wealth of knowledge, and I'll add some more tips out throughout the exercise. But at the end of the day, we just want you to be able to have some good foundation in understanding what to do on wash day.
Well, and I remember what you said to the young people and to the parents. I can't remember if it was like in the broad room or the small room or both, but it was how this should not be a dreaded time. No. This should be a time.
Should feel like a spa day.
Love, community, spa, and connection.
Connectivity.
And
I mean, that's what it's always been in the Black home. That's in Black families, what we honored those days when we was doing the press girls. Now listen, there was the burns and all that kind of stuff. We understand that, but it was always a sense of community. Even when you go and love. And when you go into the salons, it's just that community and that love was always there. So if you've taken this upon yourself to adopt a Black kid, we want to welcome you to the cookout. And the cookout has to do with wash day as well too. Okay.
Welcome to the cookout. Well, Johnny, it is really pure joy. And before we leave, we're in July, but you just had a birthday in June. And
June 24th.
June 24th. And I love this because June 25th is the birthday of my maternal grandmother,
Oh.
my birth grandmother.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's why I was first named June.
Why? So that's why you call born in June, raised in April. But it has a double entendre.
Yeah.
In a sense, because I was born in June,
and I love that.
Now I'm part of April. I love that. It's crazy.
We are really excited to move this forward. And like I do with my other content, we're going to take the year and pull in tips, community drivers,
cultural conversations, all those things,
throughout the year that you can tap into, that will really allow folks to be on that continued learning journey. Because just like every month continues to come and every year continues to come by the grace of God, we know that there's continued learning to do. So when we get into the rhythm of the calendar and we have a hairstyle of the month, a tip of the month, a community driver of the month, a moment of self-love, we're going to be building something for the ages.
No,
and I can't wait to let people know more about it.
I can't wait either. And the thing about it is, it's like, for me, it's something that I think is so fun and beautiful to be a part of. But you guys, listen, we are not fearing anything, but we will have some hard conversations.
Yes.
Okay? We're always going to lead with positivity. And I am an eternal optimist, but at the same time, I'm also a realist. And we will have some hard conversations, but at the end of the day, it's all love, and we all about educating each other. This is going to be a huge project, movement. It's going to be huge. It's big in America. It's even bigger in Europe, and it's even bigger in Brazil. And I got connections everywhere. So we're going to take this on the road with us. I cannot wait for you guys to be a part of this. And April and I are going to really tickle some feathers right now. We're going to do it. Yeah.
Well, I love you, Johnny
Wright. Love you too.
Born in June, raised in April, what adoption can teach the world. And we are going to be on this journey together. And we can't wait to share more.
Can't say bye, guys.
Bye.
That was great.
Thank you so much for joining me for this very special July episode of Born in June, Raised in April. As Johnny and I prepare to bring our work into community, I am holding close the truth that freedom lives in our ability to be seen, supported, and celebrated in all of who we are. This work is about more than a strategy or support. It's about holding space for the fullness of our stories, honoring the beauty of our differences, and building relationships rooted in real relational care. If this conversation moved you, stay close. There's more to come. Follow Johnny Wright and June and April on Instagram. That's at Johnny Wright and at June and April. And follow Transracial Journeys at Transracial Journeys, and visit the transracialjourneys.org website to learn more how you can tap in on Saturday, August 2nd for our live stream direct from Transracial Journeys Camp 2025. And as always, I hope this episode brings you closer to your own identity and to the people who walk that journey alongside you. Until next time, take good care. Born in June, Raised in April, What Adoption Can Teach the World was produced, engineered, and edited by Kyle Ferreira. Our theme music is by Kevin Lothar, aka Big Lux. You can find me, April Dinwiddie, your host, on Instagram at June in April and all the social media platforms. And you can visit me on my YouTube channel, April Dinwiddie. And I'm also now on Substack, also April Dinwiddie. So check me out there, and we will see you next month in August.